Well, hello, and welcome back. I'm Claire. This is Purple Poppy, and as you can see, today I am working on Roxy's Journal of Stitchery. We've had the next prompt now, which is for spring bloom. These were spring bulbs, so flowers that come from bulbs. I chose not to do an actual bulb. This was the nest. And now on this page here, we're going to do spring blossoms or spring flowers. And I've chosen to do the Forsythia. So I've printed my word out in that Harrington font that I want to use. And I want to get that on first this time because I want to position my blooms around it. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, and I didn't really know till I used my friend Google, that the Forsythia is actually a shrub. It's a very large bush shrub, and it has yellow blossoms on it. The yellow blossoms are a little bit like daffodils to look at, only they don't have a trumpet. They just have a sort of inset where the what are they called, like the stamens come out from. But interestingly enough, for a blossom or a flower, they actually only have 4 petals, so, and they are bright yellow. So I've ripped out these tiny thin strips of yellow from this cotton piece that I had, and I've got some brown Appleton wool 976 if anyone's interested, because they're almost like twigs with flowers on because it's a hardy shrub. So let's get this Forsythia on here. I've stolen hubby's light box. As I've said to you before, I would normally do this with a dish and my phone, but obviously because I use my phone for filming, I can't then show you. So I want to get it on first, and I didn't want to come to you with it already on there. So I've got my Friction pen, I've got the light box on, I can very easily see the print. It's just standard computer paper print underneath, and I'm just going to get this written on, because once this is written on, I'll know where to put everything else. So, how are you? What have you been up to? Are you happy with this new prompt? Was you hoping for something else? Whoops. I'm quite pleased with it now that I've had a chance to think about it. I must admit, I'll turn that off because obviously that can be a bit glary. I must admit, when I first heard it, I was a bit blur with it, you know. Whoops, Jenga collapse. Another Jenga collapse. But now that I've had a chance to use my friend Google and have a look at, you know, the spring blossoms rather than bulbs, I'm quite happy, and I've gone for this large woody shrub mainly because it's next to the nest, and I did originally think I should do a flowering tree, maybe a magnolia or something like that, but I've ended up with this shrub mainly because I was drawn in by this beautiful, this is the only thing, isn't it, with the concertina, in that you do have a large piece that you are constantly manhandling in order to work on your piece. But there you go, we've got it. So that's where the words are going to go. Now the shrub tends to be very just sort of pointy like this. Actually, I've remembered I didn't want to do that. Forgotten my own plan already. So let's get that on there and let's get the iron turned on. The beauty of the friction pen. And get that ironed off as soon as that heats up. I've got my iron in a tangle. I didn't want to do that because I had it in my mind, let's revert backwards, that what I would do is I'd have the word there, and then up here I would actually have one of the individual flowers in the yellow cotton. So then I need this shrub to come more here. And it does tend to, you know, come off of itself, as it were. So very, very simplistic to draw. That's what I'm going to do in brown, and then I'm going to snip lots of these pieces to create my fours, and then I'll do a slightly bigger one up there. That's the idea. Let's hope it runs to plan. So, oh, I don't want that needle, do I? That's a bit gigantica, ridiculous. We don't want that needle. So now I've got to find a needle. Now, I know I had one in one of the balls that I was working with. Bear with me 1 second while I find a needle. How? There you go. See, I was working in blue yesterday, so that was stuck in the blue ball. Okay, now, as I say, I'm going to work in this dark brown Appleton. It is number 976, if anybody's interested. I think I already told you that. Now, I've pulled it twice. I understand that you're supposed to pull it once and that's the amount that you use, but I pulled it twice, well 3 times in the end, but I'm going to go with the twice, because one of the things with wool is it does tend to shed. So if you use, I know that, too long a piece, it's going to shed all over the place, and I don't think I'm going to get it through this needle, am I? I probably need a bigger eye. Oh, so maybe we do need this one, because this one has got a lovely large eye in it. Oh, for goodness sake. Right, maybe I should put you on pause, get this threaded and then come back. So I'll see you in a second. Okay, we finally got it in the original smaller needle that I wanted. I'm just going to do a little knot, and then obviously I want these branches or twigs. I think really if you look at a picture, they tend to be much more twiggy. So I'm going to start at the bottom there, and I'm just going to do like a running stitch all the way up, and then I'm going to come back down and whip it so that it's that little bit thicker. I think that's the idea. I'm doing quite big stitches. So, as I say, what are you up to? Are you actually working on the project, or are you just enjoying the videos that people are making about doing the project? I obviously have far too much time on my hands. because I think I said to you before, I'd like a weekly prompt. I know it's not practical for most people, and I understand why the girls don't do it, but I would like a weekly prompt. The other thing is that although these flowers, these that are on this Forsythia, are only 4 petals, they tend to grow in clumps, and I've been having a little chat with my friend Google, and they tend to sort of grow in clumps of 6, if that makes sense. So although they're only 4 petals, they do you know, look much bushier on the plant because they grow so close together in this sort of clump formation. And I just felt oops, that's not very good, Claire. I just thought that the yellow was so bright and lovely, and you know, spring really sort of sings to you, getting you ready for summer, that yeah. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't have all sort of pinky purples. I wanted lots of different colours, so that's why it's gone the way it's gone. Right, so we've got that first sort of stalk and branch, and that's brought me to here. It was quite a find actually, this Appleton wool, my local charity shop. I managed to get 2 bags with 4 different colours in. So there was a brown bag and a pink bag. So there were sort of 4 different browns, or shades of brown, and then 4 different shades of pink. So that was good. And I feel like this is probably quite boring for you to watch, because I'm having to obviously screw up these pages, which, as I say, is the only problem with the concertina, and makes me wonder if I might have been better having individual pages that were then stitched together to form the concertina. I'm not 100% sure. So it's done now, and this is what it is. So also I should imagine the Forsythia, oh, now look what I've done. The Forsythia would encourage bees, so there would be lots of yellow. Okay, I'm going to go off and thread my needle again. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so while you were missing, I've hunted out a needle with a bigger eye. I've finished off that piece of thread, and I'm just going to start again back at the bottom here. And I'm going to stitch this branch this side. I mean, obviously, I'm guessing it is a branch. I just feel like I want to call it a twig, because it's much more sort of woody, but then I suppose branches on trees are woody, aren't they? So perhaps I'm just waffling about nothing. Oh dear. So I've also got myself, for my sins, involved in the Arty August by Shanuki Arts. I discovered it whilst watching Susie Q Make's video, and thought, oh, that looks like fun. It's a mixed media project. So I popped over there and had a little look at that. And yeah, I've started having a go. I'm enjoying it. I don't know that what I'm doing would be considered necessarily very good. But I'm doing it and I'm having fun, and I think that's all that really matters. So there you go. I think you get to an age where you sort of go, do you know what? I don't care what people think. If it pleases me, I'm going to do it. And it is pleasing me, so I am doing it. Okay, I think this is going to be a sprig off of there. So go into that stitch. And then, oops. Yeah, so you can't really turn it around. I'm going to come to there. And then to there. And then back down to there, and then over to there, and that just gives me this arm, this branch arm coming off to the side. Okay. Oops. Come off there with this one. So that's going to go in there. And hopefully now it's starting to look, yeah, how it's supposed to. And you can see, whoops, what my plan is and where I'm going with it. At the moment, doing these stick twigs as the beginning part reminds me of doing Jennifer Clouston stitchery, because she always starts with a fairly bare base and then builds up from it. Fingers and thumbs apparently. So oh no, I pulled the needle off again. Oh dear. Right, see if I can get that back in. It's a much bigger hole, so it should be, yeah, much easier. There we go, much easier. The one that I was using originally, I love to use because it's a chenille needle, so it's obviously completely straight, it hasn't got any bulbous end, but it does mean that that hole is fairly small. I mean, it's much bigger than a standard sewing needle, obviously, but for something like this, it just feels too thin. Okay, so we've got those branches. This will be the last one, I think, on this thread. So we've got some tuck-in space on the back. And trim these off. There we go. That one we can trim much lower, really. There we go. So yeah, because of the nest I thought tree originally, and now we've ended up with this shrub, but it does grow very tall, so it is almost a tree. I think the height is really dependent on the age. Still not the easiest thread, but this is presumably where I should have a needle threader. I have several. The lovely Karen sent me a couple, but I find if you're not careful you end up actually breaking them. Perhaps I'm just too violent. Use too much pressure on them. Right, I think I'll start my furthest point here and work my way back down. I like the feel of the wool, and I suppose because it shreds, it is a good way of training yourself to use shorter threads. So if you're like me and you do tend to use, you know, threads that realistically you know are just too long, the bobbles you can hear coming through, then maybe it's a good way of doing it. Now you see I've deliberately now just branched off, get that short one in. You know, I've told you many times I'm no expert. It's probably completely the wrong way to do it, but I'm quite happy. So that's all that matters. So yeah, I mean, I went to my youngest daughter yesterday, spent the day with her and the eldest two grandchildren. We just sort of messed around indoors. She had some relevant ingredients, so we made them, or they, you know, we all made together, but for the children, some healthy sweets with no added sugar, just from like strawberries and gelatin and the like. So they had a fun day sort of working with food, as it were, and got a reward at the end of it, because obviously I had their sweets. And then we just popped out and got some nice bits for lunch. And then they were sort of playing in the garden while Mum and I were hiding in the shade indoors. Just chit-chatting with coffee. So I mean, it was just a normal family day, but it was nice. And obviously with the children home 6 weeks, there's a lot of days to feel. So it's quite bizarre really, because I went over and did that and played with the children and spent some time with my daughter. And I'm sure I've told you before that that particular daughter is a hairdresser. I mean, she doesn't work as a hairdresser, but she's trained as a hairdresser. She now works in a nursery. Anyway, so I came home, potted around, did some bits and pieces. Hubby and I had some dinner, and then he went over there to get a haircut. So we had a single visit from both of us yesterday, which was a bit bizarre, but obviously when he was over there in the evening, although they are the eldest grandchildren, they're still only 5 and 6, so they were in bed, which they'll be most disappointed at, because as they see him much less frequently than they see me, because obviously he's working, Grandad is the favourite of the two of us, which is very, you know, very natural. So yes, I think he'll be in the bad books for going over when they were in bed. We have booked to take them out for a day. I don't know if you remember, but last summer I was telling you we took them on the train to London. My grandson is besotted, like most boys, with dinosaurs, so we took them on the train, went into London to the museum, and they looked at, you know, the various skeletons things. I've just added another branch there for some reason. It's just, you know, what you do, isn't it? So yeah, we've got another day booked this year. I think this year we're going to take them to, it's a farm type place fairly close to us. They can run off some energy, and they've got some historic type buildings there that you can go in and you can see the animals and all that sort of usual thing. They've got a nice cafe. Actually, they've got a specialist pizza cafe there as well. So I think we're going to take all three together this time. Last year we took the eldest two, who are brother and sister, into London, and then we took, I can't remember where we took the youngest one, but we took the youngest one somewhere on our own. So I think this year, because they're, you know, a year on, we might well take all three together. I think they can wear each other out. Right, so I feel like we've got a lovely twig base here. I'm now going to run through and whip it. So I'm just going to come back through from the other side, use the blunt eye end of my needle to push through and wrap all those stitches, which is just going to make it that bit thicker and more, you know, twig-like than a row of stitches, we hope. So that's my plan here. I'll just come down this middle one because that's probably going to be quite boring for you to watch. You don't want to watch me do it all. You've already watched me stitch it all. It's going to feel a bit samey, isn't it? And we'll look at getting a couple of flowers on, shall we? So then in there, and where I've just done that one, you can definitely see the difference. So you can see where these are like single stitches, whereas this is thick and just one line. Yeah, so I'll do some more of that as my homework off camera, but we want to make some of these flowers, so let's grab one of these. I'm gonna need some yellowy orange thread and some coffee. Oops, more Jenga. Let's have a look. Now I have actually got yellow thread, which is a bit awesome, and it is a slightly different yellow. But then also I did notice that the centre of the flowers are a little bit orangey as well. So I think we're going to do a double stitch, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these off. Now obviously we want very tiny amounts because this is not a big shrub by any means, so I'm probably going to cut. Now what is that? That is, it's about 1 inch, and I think even that feels too big, doesn't it? We'll see. So they just literally cross like that, and then if I take my yellow thread initially and my original needle and just stitch that down, what I'm thinking is I'll stitch it down and then I'll put like an orange French knot in the middle or two, and that will add the extra little bit of colour, maybe. That's my plan. We'll see how we go. Right, so get a knot in here. I am thinking these are way too big. They felt so small when I was doing them earlier. Yeah, no, they're just way too big, Claire. I think this one is going to probably make 2. Because also what I want to do is I want to come through and I want to try and create like a bit of a divot. Ow, get that needle over there. So if I go through the cross, whoops, I go through the cross like so and pull that all the way, and then if I do a stitch, and that's going to pull it hopefully really tight and create like a little, look, a little divot. Yeah, that's what we want. So we've got to do a really sort of tight knot on the back, and that's what, hopefully, that's my dog you can hear snoring. Right. It's not much of a cross, is it, Claire? Oh, it sort of is. Right. But then you see, we're not just going to go down the line, down the twig. We have to create like a bunch of them. So I'll come up there and get my 1, and then get my, oh, that one's too short. Here it is. Get my second one and go the other way, and then that is going to poke under there, and I'm going right next to it just like I would if I was doing a French knot. Oh yes. And then I'm going to come across there, so there is a gap between the two. This one I'm going to go out, 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 out. I'm going to go through and then through the other way, poke that all the way down, find my little cross, and then pull that back through tight, you see? And I'm creating little flowers. I feel like you need to be closer. Just a second. Close your eyes while I zoom you up. There you go. That's probably better, isn't it? So then I'll do another one on the other side here. So come up through there, cut my two little pieces. So one, and then two. Put my needle through one, and then turn it and put it through the other way, so that we've got that like cross. Drag it all the way in, and then just poke my needle through and give it a real tug, so that I'm getting this three-dimensional fluffiness, and I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So I'm really happy with that. And I've pulled that in pulling it, so I'm just going to do a little fixing stitch. There you go. And then I'm going to do another one. And I'm basically going to spend my week filling up this branch with these. Now, I haven't been over these branches with that, you know, that like whip stitch. And I am wondering now if it's better to put these flowers on first and then go through with another line of stitch where these flowers aren't. Now that's technically a cheats method, but it's your fault because I didn't want you to be bored and I wanted you to see what I was going to do with these flowers. So I'm blaming you. Push that down. Oh. And then put my needle in and then just pull it. Oh, preferably without a knot, Claire. Oh, we always end up with a knot, don't we? Now, it's so small, I can't. Right, just 1 second. I'm just going to finish trying to undo this knot and then we might get a proper stitch through there. What do you think? Oh, it sounds like hubby agrees with me, so that's good. Right, there we go. So now I've got another flower on there. There you go. Well, as you heard, hubby apparently has decided it's lunchtime and you've got a good idea on what I'm doing now. So I'm going to leave you there. When I come back next week, hopefully I'll have all these flowers on and we can look at doing some lettering and then that big feature flower there. Stay safe. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you very soon. Ta-ta for now.